Hello everyone, welcome back to Writing Tips, Tricks, and Tropes. This is not going to be a shameless excuse to talk about one of the best fantasy series of all time. Okay, it kind of is, but I'm also mentioning other stories too, so it's fine. Don't judge me. Today we're going to be talking about what I like to call doomed heroes. They're also called tragic heroes. I just like the sound of doomed. A doomed hero's suffering in their story is inevitable, and it changes them to the extent that even when they succeed, their victory feels flat or disappointing. They're, forgive the expression, damned if they do, damned if they don't. It's my favorite trope, and it can be done in so many ways. So today we're going to talk about 5 doomed heroes in media and what makes each of them unique, and what unites them as doomed heroes. Also, spoiler alerts for Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, Hunger Games, Wicked, and Hollow Knight are incoming. You have officially been warned. Also, this is totally an excuse to talk about my favorite fantasy series, or one of them at least, Lord of the Rings. If you don't know anything about the story, I apologize. I don't really have time to go over the intricacies of it. Basically, our hero is Frodo, and he is originally tasked to bring the ring, the MacGuffin of the story, to Rivendell. And he does so, and he thinks at that point that maybe his journey's over and he gets to go home. And then fighting breaks out as all of these men and elves and wizards and dwarves, blinded by self-righteousness or power or whatever reason, fight over who can destroy the ring or who can use it. And of course, the ring is able to corrupt anyone who holds it. And at this point, Frodo has held it for a few days to a week, I think. And surrounded by chaos, he realizes none of them know the true power of the ring. They've only been around it for a few minutes and they're already arguing and threatening to go to war over this thing. So instead of going home, he calls out above the noise. He will take the ring to Mount Doom and destroy it. At first, only Gandalf hears him, and Gandalf's reaction is truly heartbreaking. He knows that this is a journey Frodo can't come back from. He cannot ask Frodo to just go home because Frodo is the only one who can carry the ring. It's the beginning of Frodo's end. He suffers so much on his journey. He loses people. He is wounded. He is chased. He's betrayed. But despite everything, he still tries to make good decisions and sticks to what he knows is true. And even though it's at the expense of his own safety, he's rewarded for his heroism. He claims victory and destroys the ring. But the cost is so great. He is scarred in both mind and body. He goes home and cannot enjoy the life he once had. Everything has lost its light because he has seen true darkness. It's different from the unrest of his uncle Bilbo, who had his own struggles. But he seeks the thrill of the unknown. In the beginning of the movie, he says he wants to go on another adventure. He wants to go into the mountains and get away from the frivolous nature of his home. Frodo has faced the unknown, and because of it can never know true peace, and it weighs down on him. He doesn't seek adventure, he just seeks rest, and that's why he has to leave Middle-earth behind in the end. He knows he can never truly be happy there, not anymore. It hurts so much. I watched the end of it again last month, and I just bawled like a baby. Frodo does everything right, but he can never truly win. It's so heartbreaking and so good. Okay, I got a hold of myself. Our next doomed hero, Elphaba. Elphaba has a dream to meet the wizard and have the perfect life. However, her dream is shattered, and for the greater good, she abandons it. Elphaba has already seen her fair share of sorrow when her journey starts, unlike Frodo. Elphaba's heart has already been broken by her father, by the people around her. She seeks healing the only way she knows, by erasing who she is in favor of someone who is more visually acceptable. But when she sees the truth of a broken system, she works to save those from suffering, and in her actions is made into the villain. She even begins to devolve into a more villainous character as she loses more and more of herself to those standing against her. She cannot recover from being a villain on paper thanks to a skewed media perception and the power of authoritative figures spreading false information. Wonder where I've heard that before. So to find her happy ending, she must make her best friend believe she's dead and leave Oz forever. Like Frodo, she makes an active decision to stop the spread of evil, but she also cannot find joy or peace in her happily ever after. It's clear from the end of the first act. She could have all she ever wanted, but she doesn't want it. No, she can't want it anymore. From that moment, her fate is sealed. Her idea of joy is destroyed, reshaped, and eventually it dies. So we're seeing a trend so far of characters being taken out of their comfort zone just to find out that even though they accomplish what they set out to do, they can never return to that familiar zone of comfort. So let's go ahead and talk about another hero, Katniss Everdeen. Katniss Everdeen is different from our previous heroes. She comes from a background of true horror and struggle, and she does not act out of a sense of morality like Frodo or Elphaba, but out of a desire to survive in a world actively trying to kill her and everything she loves. She kills, she lies. Her main focus isn't to be a hero. It's to keep those closest to her, Gale, Peeta, Prim, alive. It was never her intention to spark a rebellion or to become the leader of it, the girl on fire, but it's what she winds up doing in an effort to continue protecting those she loves. But it also ends up being the exact reason she loses them and is forever scarred by what happened to her and the things she was forced to do to stay alive. And the cost isn't worth it to her because she loses everything. She gains everything the world needed, but in the process she loses almost everyone she loved. So her victory feels meaningless without those people. She still has nightmares. She can never truly be free of her past. Our next hero, Anakin Skywalker. Man, what an amazing doomed hero. You can already see the signs of his devolution into villain in the beginning, his aggressive tendencies, his obsessive nature, and his intense loyalty. But his lightsaber's blue, he's a good guy. Except he experiences the corruption in the Jedi Council and struggles with his own losses, making him vulnerable to his own destructive tendencies, and reshape that loyalty into something a little more deadly. He falls so far that he becomes the very thing he swore to destroy. But becoming Darth Vader isn't the end of his hero's journey. Yes, he is the villain of the original trilogy, but his emotions, the very thing that drove him to become a Sith Lord according to the Jedi Council, lead him to protect his son and sacrifice himself in the process. He truly was the chosen one in the end, and in death redeemed himself. But again, the cost was great. He suffered, he lost his loved ones, he lost himself. And even if he had redeemed himself and lived, there would have been no happy ending for someone who caused so much suffering to the entire galaxy. He would have been jailed, killed, on the run for the rest of his life. He wouldn't have been able to just say sorry and go about his daily life. Last but not least, it's your favorite little Hollow Knight. I've talked a little bit about how he's a doomed hero in previous videos, but we're just gonna run over it again because I love the game. The Hollow Knight, during his journey through Hallownest trying to figure out how to stop the Radiance, realizes that in order to stop the Radiance, he must die. And he must force it either within himself or destroy it completely. And that's not a journey, a fight that you can walk back from. But still steadily our little knight goes forward, ready to face everything for the good of what's left of this once great city. And as I said before, the knight is actually the player, so it's reflective of your decisions, but still it's those two fates you get to choose from. So in one ending, the knight is able to put the radiance within himself, but there's sort of this foreshadowing that it's just a repeat of the events that he was fighting against, or he can go within the mind of the Radiance and destroy it there, but in order to do so, his body would be destroyed. So there's no way that he can survive, no way that he can get his happy ending. He's just doing this because it's the right thing to do, and he never gets to see the fruit of his labor. Doomed heroes, their endings are not happily ever after. They succeed, but they lose too much for it to feel like a true victory. They aren't able to return to their zone of comfort. They aren't happy to be the heroes. It costs them everything, even when they do their best to be good and play by the rules. The main obstacles to their happily ever after are actually their memories. They know how they were before, and too much has changed, and they've learned and seen too much to be able to go back to that person. They're completely different people. It's a big difference from flat, true heroes, like Mario. Mario always does what is right to help Mushroom Kingdom and protect Princess Peach. He sticks by his values at all times, always succeeds, and returns to his comfort zone of a protected kingdom with his girlfriend. He doesn't suffer like a doomed hero. He gets the same happy ending every time. Doomed heroes don't. They're gonna end up heartbroken, no matter what. So that's all I have on doomed heroes. I love them because I always hope to see them find their happy ending, even though I know they won't get it. And because of my love for them, I'm always left devastated by their inevitable disappointment. It hurts, which means the author did it right. I think I see myself in doomed heroes as well, not the suffering part, but the feeling of things not going right despite your best efforts, and growing to an extent that what you once had in comfort can never give you the same satisfaction it used to. I yearn for things that don't exist anymore, like that feeling of coming home from school to a pitcher of Kool-Aid and the smell of warm cookies, or the way it felt to be picked up and swung around by your dad when he got home. Even the simplest act of hugging a stuffed animal or a doll that you had as a kid that you gave away at some point. Those moments are gone. You can't go back. And even if you could, you've changed so much over the years that comfort wouldn't give you that same feeling that you had when you were younger. That's how it feels to be a doomed hero, and that's how it feels to just grow up. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. You know, a real doomed character of this video is the outro. I mean, could it be? Can you still suffer if you don't exist? I don't know. Bye!